can your team learn from?
Right. Well, first of all, our execution in the first half was pretty good to play a team that's that good defensively to get the shots that we got. We're going to live with that. I thought we got really good shots. We had 5 turnovers. I said it after the game, if you just do the same thing in the second half and you have 10 turnovers with the team that forces the most turnovers in the country, that's something that you want to live with. So there's always some silver linings. And when you play, I thought Tourier's pressure bothered us. We got frustrated when we missed shots, and then we got loose with the basketball in the second half. We were just careless with the basketball. You have to be able to make better decisions and keep getting quality shots. And even though they weren't going down for us, you got to keep executing, keep doing your job. And then I just thought our ability to adjust to the basketball, whether we're 1 pass away, 2 passes away, whether we're in a closeout, we're in a rotation, was just poor. Especially in the second half. Nothing happens and they can't have an advantage. Nothing happened on about 10 possessions and they got an advantage, all because we don't adjust to the ball with our proper influence. We don't keep the ball in front of us. And now we're just playing catch up, and now you're in rotations, and now you're over helping, and you're just putting yourself in a tough spot. With that being said, they're a really good offensive and defensive team. So they're going to make some plays, and they're going to make some plays over you. Keep forcing them to keep making plays over you. Break their rhythm, keep them in front of you, make things more difficult on them. And we simply didn't do that. Now, with all that being said, after watching it, I feel even more after what I said after the game was true. Is they're a good team. They're a good team. And they get after you. They make it hard on you. They make you uncomfortable. And you got to be able to play this game uncomfortable and still get to your shots and still make it harder on them, because that's the game. That is the game. You got to get better shots than your opponent, and you got to be able to force them into the tougher ones than you're getting. If you can do that, you're going to win. They did that on both ends. And we normally do that from an offensive standpoint. And that's what I talked about, our energy, is that you got to find your energy through your effort, through your defense, through your rebounding, through your running. You got to find your energy that way, because the ball's not always going to go in. Well, we've still been able to score 80-plus points in every single game. Even though we haven't been perfect in those games, we still found enough to be able to score that amount in every game. So you lean on that a little bit, right? That you're going to go get that number again, because that number is the number they got. 82 is their number, right? That is their number. And the game unfolds differently, especially when somebody's up. But you got to be able to grind out a victory. You got to be able to grind that out. And we're not in a position right now to grind anything out. And we got to work towards that, because you never want it to happen, but it always happens. It always happens. You go on the road, people get in foul trouble, people get hurt, you miss shots. Now, can you grind that out, be great defensively, great on the glass, and take care of the basketball when shots don't go in? That's our challenge, and that's what we have to work towards. Now, with that being said, we want to score 80 to 100 points and not put that kind of stressor on them. But that's the silver lining, I think, of the game right there, is when we get back and compete again on Wednesday, no matter how the game unfolds, you have to be better on the defensive end. You have to do a better job taking care of the ball.
How much can you see already Nico's fingerprints making an impact on Minnesota basketball?
Yeah. Well, he has a system in what he does offensively. You can see that, and their ability to cut. Now, you're adding a lot of pieces here. He has one guy that he's coached before. And so now as he, adds those pieces, and he keeps developing, and you can keep guys there, especially homegrown guys, now you can start to really be efficient and be good from an offensive standpoint. And that's where, I watched him a lot last year because of Morty, and I watched their games whenever I had a chance. And so I probably watched him a handful of times. And they're just really good at cutting. They're really good at getting to their action. He does a good job. He did it with his kid last year. His name's escaping me. That was a draft pick. They do a really good job of getting him in their spots like they do Tyson, but then they also do a great job of leveraging you getting up your line, leveraging you being over anxious. They get a lot of backdoor cuts. So that's what I see. I see really good offense, and then their defense is really starting to pick up. They're getting more stingy. I thought they did some really good things against Indiana, and obviously their game was at home. But I thought their defense was vastly improved from their tournament game. They had times in their tournament games where they go in spurts where they would do good defensively, then they would have more breakdowns. I just thought the consistent play there. I thought their crowd obviously helped them in that game, but that's what I see. He's been successful every place he's been, so he'll be successful there.
What ways is Antoine helping the practice dynamic right now?
It's just his ability to break people down offensively. Like he can get the ball and go get his own shot. Very athletic, long, big guard, and then his ability to put pressure on the ball. Like I think that really gives us a good look for people, because like no matter who we play, sometimes people scheme to put size on Braden. Sometimes they go and put ultimate quickness, but normally the best defender goes on him, right? And so like now having Antoine being able to guard him and other guys in practice. So he helps us on both ends, and ultimately he helps himself.
Have you had a scout team guard that talented, or has it been a while?
No, we haven't. We've had some guys that are pretty good that have redshirted or whatever, but in terms of just like that type of ability that can break people down, he's going to be a good player.
Matt, does a lopsided loss affect the team or the way you handle it more than like a 5-point loss?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I think how it affects us is how we play going forward, right? Like I think that's you don't solve it in a press conference. But like, yeah, it's humbling more than anything. Like that's the kind of the two places. If you're a coach or you're a player, like you're either humbled or you're about ready to get humbled. And the devil's in the detail, and you got to be able to compete. Like every game, you got to be able to go out there and compete, and no matter what happens, you can't stop doing that. And I think they got it. No different than what we did to Texas Tech, right? No different. And that's what I told them. I said, how do you think they felt? How do you think Texas Tech felt? Like they're a good basketball team. They just beat LSU by 30 points. Christian Anderson had like 37. Like, what I mean? Like those guys, you didn't walk away from that game thinking about their two best players, like how you thought of them. Those guys are two of the best players in the country. And we had a great night. And so we got some of the best players in the country, but Iowa State was better than us. It's simple as that. And that's what you want. Like champions always get off the canvas. And so like when you get knocked down, that's who you are. But you also hope like the lesson in the whole thing is that you prevent that from happening again. That hasn't happened to us too much, especially at home, but it did, And when things happen and go against you, you gotta, as a coach, you gotta look at what you're doing, or look at how you're doing it. And obviously, we're in a good position. Like our first half, there's not a lot to look at and say, hey man, what's the problem here? Because we were getting really, really good shots, and that's a hard thing to do against them, because they're a great defensive team.
Matt, have you seen Omer adapt to a different culture, a different way of living?
Mm-hmm.
He said he's never seen snow, didn't have a winter coat when he got here.
Yeah.
The basketball is basketball, but when you get international people who haven't seen this way of living before, that can be maybe the hardest transition.
Yeah, just, trying to adjust to everything. A lot of times you're coming in, and basketball-wise, you learn a new system, you got new teammates, but now you're moving and living in the United States. College basketball is refereed differently than FIBA basketball. Kind of learning those nuances is really important. Learning on playing coming off the bench, learning on playing with lesser minutes. There's just a lot of adjustments, and then from a culture standpoint, it's something that I've never been through. You go and you visit places, and then you come home, right? You go for a week, you come home. You don't go and you stay, and so everybody, we're all get into our own habits. We all get to where like we get comfortable with things, and some of the things kind of outside of basketball, you're going to adjust to a little bit slower, because you're used to certain things. But he's been great. He's worked really hard, and he's put in a lot of time. And I know like it's frustrating sometimes not seeing some shots go down, but that's part of basketball. You work through it. You keep putting in your time, You keep watching film, and you know he's a good player. He'll keep getting better, and he'll keep being more comfortable.
Is part of that being just having a professional background? Like he's been through this maybe more than a typical freshman.
Yeah, his club team that he was with for 10 years. So even though you look at Maccabi Tel Aviv as his pro team, that's his club. So he played all age groups coming up with that. So that's something he's been very familiar with.
What jumps out to you about the challenges of Cade Tyson, especially when you're going to be guarding him with a bigger guy who you need back on the glass too?
Yeah, good player. You know, he does a good job moving without the basketball. He can put the ball on the floor. He's just not a guy that, shoots threes. Obviously, he can shoot and make a lot of threes. But, like, he does a good job playing off his shot fake. They'll post him a little bit and back cut him and then post him. And just a good feel like they've done a good job of what they run and incorporating him and trying to get him looks, but also playing off of that. People get on top of him. People try to wedge his screens. He back cuts for layups. So, good player. There'll be a lot of different people guard him just because sometimes in their stuff and what they do, there'll be some switches. So, everybody's got to be prepared to guard him and the rest of their guys. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Did you recruit Tyson at all?
I did not. We called on him, but he was